Hello and welcome to our podcast, Militarization to Demilitarization. Here with me, I have Corey Cole and Randy Cloud, and myself, the moderator. I am Ivan Cruz. Before we start, I want to thank Solano Community College for having us here and giving us the time to conduct this podcast. So, our first topic, I want to talk about why we joined the military. Corey, why did you join?
So I joined because I was coming here to Solano right after high school and didn't know what I was doing, what I wanted to major in, what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And I wasn't good at school anyway in high school. I think I had a 2.1 GPA, something like that. I was ranked like 300 out of 400, of the kids who
It'd be
graduated.
like that.
Yeah. And so I came here for a couple years. Wasn't working, and then due to some bad anxiety I had, I was running out of money because I didn't have a job. So I was just thinking about it one day, and my dad was in the Air Force, my uncle was in the Air Force, my two grandpas were in the Navy in World War II. So it just seemed, like the right thing to do and something to get me started in life.
Mhm.
That's really interesting. Did any of your grandpa did he give you any tell you any cool stories about
Uh,
experiences?
I was no, because he just didn't talk about it too much. Maybe
Yeah,
there
I
were,
can
Just like
understand that. Yeah,
memories like
it's
that.
very traumatic and very sometimes things get dark.
Mhm.
Um, you know,
Why did you join the military, Randy?
I joined because I always wanted to be capable and be that person that you can count on to get anything done. Um, I wanted to be a tier one operator. I wanted to be one of those type of people. I wanted to be capable. I wanted to be strong and reliant. On top of that, a major influence was, believe it or not, Call of Duty.
Oh yeah,
The arcade style,
and
just
nowadays, yeah.
playing that type of stuff, doing the campaigns, running through, seeing the recon, seeing the tier one operators operate. Granted, it's a game and not based on facts, but that really led me to looking into more of an aspect like that, being able to, do something cool like that, being able to be that guy that they need
Mhm.
to get something done and, all the knowledge that comes with it because everything you learn there you can apply to daily life. Teaches you your restraint, teaches you when to react, how to react, teaches you a bunch of things. And I think for me that was a major factor as to why I joined. Not only did I personally think it was cool, but it was also very useful. You could
Right.
use it in your daily life. You could do whatever you decided to do with your knowledge because yeah, sure, you were in a combat role, but you also are taught how to maintain professionalism and
Mhm.
have discipline when you speak
Mhm.
to others or maybe someone who's a little bit less patient than you. What about you, Ivan? Why did you join?
Yeah, no, I always wanted the discipline, right? Because I was always a bad kid growing up. I never went to school or anything. Got kicked
Be
out
like that.
and all of that. So uh, I I I wanted to join because I needed the discipline in my life. I wanted to change myself for the better. And with the Marine Corps, you know how they operate, right?
Mhm.
They will enlist you fully into they'll make you want to become a Marine, right?
Mhm.
And that's what they did to me when I joined the recruiter's office. So definitely, discipline was one of my main reasons on joining. Also, just I I wanted to travel too. The
Oh
military
yeah.
is a big reason
Hmm.
why, or traveling is a big reason on why. Because I would always stay in California. I didn't have
Mhm.
that much money growing up, so I
Yeah.
never traveled outside. But luckily, with the Marine Corps, I was able to deploy twice, and in those deployments, I was able to go to multiple different countries.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah.
especially in the transit. You can like for me on one of my deployments, we stopped in Guam,
Mm.
which I thought was pretty cool. And then using that to see other cool things.
Mhm.
Where did you deploy to?
So I deployed to Japan twice. I went on the 31st Mule, and then I did a, I forgot what the other deployment's called.
Just the UDP?
The
Yeah,
UDP,
that's what
right?
I was on. I
The
did the
UDP.
back in 2020. I did UDP in Okinawa,
Mhm.
Japan.
What's
Uh,
UDP? Those
The
non-Marines.
it's literally just like a unit deployment practice.
Okay,
Yeah,
Uh,
gotcha.
so you'll deploy, but you'll be stationed in a base
mhm.
in a different
Okay,
country.
yeah,
Yeah,
gotcha.
for the amount of the deployment.
Okay.
So yeah, traveling would be a good one. So I want to go to our next topic, diversity in the military. Randy, do you have any examples on diversity?
Yeah, actually, I have a few, but the one I want to talk about is back in basic training or boot camp, as we call it. I had this other recruit in my platoon, and I forgot what his name was. I believe it was Leva, and he was of Navajo descent. I'm not entirely too sure how to, correctly state that ethnicity, but he came from a family of Navajo
Mhm.
Native Americans, and I thought that was pretty cool. And not only did he come from the descent, but he also spoke their native language.
Oh,
You
that's
know,
nice.
and that was actually very interesting. And being able to see that he possessed the knowledge and he was special because he was literally of something that is rare.
Yeah, not too
Out
many
of like,
people know.
yeah, exactly. Out of like the 600 people who are in our company, there was only one of him.
Yeah,
And
same.
in reality, in our companies are typically consists of a bunch of white people, a bunch of Mexicans, a bunch of Asians, and a bunch of black people. Where it came to him, it was literally just one of him, and I was like, "Wow, that's crazy to see this level of diversity within the Marine Corps, and experiencing it on the daily basis."
Mhm.
What about you, Ivan?
Yeah, so when I hit the fleet, I noticed that my group had a black guy, a white guy, a Chinese guy, and then me, the brown guy, right? But we weren't any colors. We weren't any of those
Oh,
colors, right? Because in the Marine Corps, there's a saying, and it goes, "You're not white, black, green, or yellow, purple, red, whatever. You're green. You're dark
mm-hmm.
green. You're light green. You're tannish green. Whatever. You're green."
Yep.
That's how it goes in the military. You're not anything else, right? So, um, yeah, that my group in the Marine Corps when I first joined, it was really great, right? I liked them, I loved them, and it made me realize, right, that the bigger Marine Corps, right, the fleet, had so much diversity in it,
Yeah.
right? And it's like amazing how many people of like different backgrounds and different origins, right,
Mm-hmm.
come together in one spot, right? And
Yeah, honestly, that's actually very crazy to think about. Crazy and like amazing at the same time. Is we think about us, we're the few and the proud, or whatever, for specifically the Marine Corps, and we think about the fact that we're just this little cog in the machine, and there's so many different aspects as to what goes on in the other branches, and we're able to see how much diversity is within our little cog in the machine.
Mhm.
Just like how we talk about the different races. Another thing that I really enjoy about being a part of a diverse force is experiencing their food. I love food.
Yeah.
I One thing I really love is food, and I'm pretty sure everyone can agree.
Yeah.
Everyone loves food, and
Exactly.
being able to experience all of the different ethnic groupings and the tastes that come with it based on their demographic and where they were raised and how they were raised was very intriguing and interesting to me, especially when we got to put that practice in play and try other people's food who knew how to cook and knew how to make it. I thought that was just like whew, chef's kiss,
Yeah.
type of thing.
Corey.
Especially for you guys deploying like Guam, Japan, so you get to try that food too.
Oh yeah.
There's
Oh
more
yeah.
diversity
Different
that the
places.
Marines give you outside of just the diversity in the Marines.
Hmm.
Same like I lived in the Midwest and the Southeast for some of my bases. So that Southern barbecue
Oh
is
yeah.
the best food in the world to me now. I miss it every day. Midwest has some good food too, but
Fall off the bone.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So getting to experience that and also seeing like, bringing up basic training, boot camp for you guys, it's seeing, people from Texas, the Northeast, Southeast, we're all basically the same, similar, more than we are different because growing up here in Cali, basically born and raised, um, I thought, oh, Southeast racist, dumber, it's just,
Oh
who
gosh.
cares about them Texas people? But obviously that's not true at all. We're all so similar. And so it was cool just getting to see and hang out, with people from all these random states and stuff, and you just become one ragtag group,
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
definitely. Especially when you become tight with this group, you
mhm,
learn.
Yeah.
I
yeah.
think that's very interesting.
You learn everything, right? I also want to talk about like women in the military, right?
Oh yeah,
Because I had a lieutenant, right? She was our platoon commander. Her name was Lieutenant Brackett, actually, and she was in the combat role. She was my job was infantry, right?
yeah.
And she was an infantry platoon leader. So as a woman too, right? So I seen that, right, and it motivated me. She's a truly hardworking individual who is also motivated and likes the job, right? Her purpose, or not purpose, her influences on all of us actually to work harder, right? Is just was amazing.
Yeah, it's very motivating. And actually seeing that, especially her being a woman in a combat role, that's very, very rare. I remember I was reading this article written by the Military Times, and it was published back in April 2020, and it was talking about a statistic that out of our whole working force, specifically, I'm going to talk about the Marine Corps, but
Mhm.
in the Marine Corps, 10% of the Marine Corps is women, and even less so in a combat role.
Yeah,
So when you said something like that, that is honestly very very motivating, very intriguing, and very interesting because not only did she attain her position of leadership based on respect and due diligence, but she did it with a physical standard right behind it.
yeah.
And I thought that's very amazing, very motivating, and it's like it proves that anyone can do anything.
Yeah, she was an extremely hardworking person. Her leadership, she would always lead from the front. In
Oh yeah.
in our physical activities, our PTs, she would
Mhm.
always be the one in front, conducting it, leading it. Or
That's good to know. Even more so, she's not only a good, solid Marine, but she's
she's
a
strong.
leadership, a
Mhm.
leader. She's a genuine leader. Some commands don't have that. And if you get to experience a good leader firsthand, I think that's something definitely to be grateful for because a lot of people get the short end of the stick or they draw that one bad card that can ruin their whole perception of what they're doing. It can literally turn them from, oh, I love this to, oh, I hate this.
Right.
Yeah, the leaders can make or break a base unit, just
Yeah,
job, everything. So,
Yeah, and it could be anyone too,
it
right?
could be.
yeah.
You never know. I want to go ahead to our next topic is our transition out of the military, right? So, Corey, how was your transition out of the Air Force?
It worked out in the end.
We like to hope.
Yeah, because I did 8 years in,
Mhm.
and first four were basically amazing. Loved the people I was with. My leadership was good. Got my first deployment around year four. Um, then came back, and I was in Nebraska this time. And leadership had changed while I was gone. The job I didn't like to begin with,
Ooh,
but at least the people and leadership, were chill.
that
So
definitely makes it better.
yeah, it helped. Um, and then yeah, so I PCS'd, did a little first term airman, base of preference it's called.
Yep.
You put out your dream sheet, 8 choices, and you get priority over like someone that's been in 12 years.
Mhm.
So I got
Really?
Savannah. Yeah, it's to help keep you in, re-enlist.
Oh,
Because if
motive
you,
or not motive, but like what's it called? Incentive.
yeah,
Sorry,
yeah, because
incentive.
if you get your base or whatever and you accept it,
Mhm.
then you have to re-enlist.
Yep.
Which I only did 2 years, thankfully, because Savannah, I love Savannah, the city, but
Mhm.
again, the leadership, the job, just not like I joined the Air Force, not the Army, because it was Army support.
Right.
So, if you go sleep in a tent, a little single tent in August in Georgia, if you moved an inch, you're drenched in sweat.
What?
Yeah. So,
That's crazy.
add that. Also, I was the only capable NCO
Oh
my last
no,
year, so I had everything on my plate. So,
that's
yeah,
stressful.
I got out, even though I didn't have a plan, nothing lined up. Had some savings because I at least smart that way. I knew about a year
Oh yeah.
before I was getting out, and so my dream job was to work overseas as a contractor, doing weather, my job, just for about 3 times the money. And so it actually, I did get, I applied to an opening, and the lady I was talking to, going back and forth, was like, all right, you're looking all good. We'll just check security, make sure your clearance is still good, valid, and, job's basically yours. And so she get back to me the next day. She didn't. The next week rolled around, nothing. So I emailed her, no response. I got ghosted.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's weird.
And so eventually I did luck out though and got a job in Vegas lined up.
Well, at least you had a plan.
Yeah, well, it worked out. And
Right.
then, so the second to last day before I'm supposed to leave, drive 30-ish hours to Vegas, she emails me back the
Oh,
way
of
they
course.
ghosted me. Yeah.
Of course.
And she's like, hey, Corey, we got an opening in Kabul. It's yours
Where
if
the heck
you
is
want it.
Kabul?
Kabul,
Oh,
Afghanistan? Yeah,
Kabul.
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 Yeah.
Yeah. And so I said, sure, take it. Um, but I wasn't about to give up Vegas because if she goes me
Stability.
again,
Yep.
I give up Vegas,
Yeah.
I'll be homeless in a couple months probably, running out of money. So yeah, I moved to Vegas, worked that job for about 2 weeks while I was doing the overseas like medical, dental stuff on the side or during the Vegas work hours. Just pretend I
Hot
was
days.
moving or whatever. So yeah, and I got the job, went there in July 2019,
Oh, that's pretty cool.
and stayed there for the 2 years until we pulled out.
Yeah.
Kabul collapsed.
Right.
But yeah, now I'm here in Solano
Yeah.
a couple years later after relaxing
Yeah.
for a little too long.
I can actually, relate to that. I got out back in 2023 and sat on my butt for 2 years doing nothing.
Mhm.
And as much as of a go-getter, I'd like to say that I am myself, but doing nothing got really boring really quickly. So, within that 2 years, it really just took away from me because I was losing it. I didn't know what I was supposed to do, what to do, or how to go about it.
It's a trap too.
Yeah, I
It's hard to
felt
break out of
trapped.
the laziness.
Exactly.
It's so easy.
It is easy because especially once it starts, it's kind of hard to stop.
Yeah.
But as to my own experience about getting out, mine was honestly fairly simple. I know a lot of people struggle with dealing with the VA and doing their claims and getting their disability or getting whatever that they feel or whatever they are deserving of. Me, I was medically separated back in 2023. I can say from my own point of view that during that time I was dealing with a lot mentally, and so my care for the Marine Corps honestly just went out the window. I was caught. I was really in a bad mental state. I was really depressed. I was really like struggling with myself. Bad enough to where I had to make sure that I had friends around me all the time. And dealing with that really didn't help me towards getting out, but it was smooth because of the fact that I was being medically separated. Um,
Yeah. So yeah, no, my transitioning is like kind of the same too. Luckily, my leadership had given me enough time to transition out during the military while I was active still. So, and they gave me like preparations by like telling me what you're gonna do outside of the military, right? Like I had to like fill in like certain requirements to know what I'm doing outside of the military.
like TRS, right?
Yeah, TRS
Yeah.
and all that, but specifically like it wasn't like TRS or anything. It was just from my leadership
Oh, really? They
that
had
wanted
something in
me to do,
command.
yeah, that wanted me to do these extra questions, that
Yeah,
I had to
definitely.
answer,
Their due diligence,
their due
or at least so
diligence,
say they
right?
say.
Yeah. So luckily I was prepared, and immediately right when I got out in 2024, um, I waited like around a month to because I got out in April, and I waited for that month to come back into college because I was still doing like all my disability claims and all that, So I waited a month, and then eventually I got into Solano Community College. So
Nice.
yeah,
Big factor. Speaking of what we were just speaking about, how you had a TRS similarity within your own command, TRS is also Transitional Readiness Seminar. It's a course a majority of the service members go through in order to transition out. Teaches us about how to reacclimate ourselves to the world. Did you actually have to go to TRS, or did they just let you get out with the due diligence of your command?
Yeah, so I actually went to TRS as
Oh,
well.
okay.
Yeah. But my command also just wanted me to do that just to be safe and
Just
just to have like that extra, precaution that I'm not gonna become homeless or anything,
yeah,
right?
yeah, definitely. Well,
Is TRS 5 days for you guys,
yes, it
or
was. I think it was 5 days or 2 weeks.
okay.
I can't really remember entirely.
I believe mine was 5 days.
All right.
I think it was 5 days.
But
Yeah.
in 2 weeks, they allotted us to do everything, right? To like go to get our signatures, right? I don't know if you had
Oh
to
yeah,
get
the
like
checkout sheet.
signatures all around the
Process.
base, which
Yeah.
was super like complicated and had to find everything that you never even knew
Yup.
existed, right? Those departments.
Yeah.
So, what do you guys think about being in college now as veterans after the military?
I think there is a lot of benefit. Personally, I don't work on, like singular aspects. I like the idea of how things go as a whole. And personally, in my own experience right now, going through college as a veteran, I think it's very, very beneficial, very good. And I'm actually very grateful I went to the Marine Corps because it taught me the discipline to get stuff done
Right. Same for
and
me.
make sure I get it done and not procrastinate. Granted, I procrastinate sometimes,
Yeah.
just like everyone else, but it also taught me the discipline to
Get it done.
do it.
Hmm.
It's better to get it done and then not worry about it than worry about it and then be last minute.
Yeah, I know what you mean about that.
Yeah, it's definitely nicer now because, especially high school,
Oh
that
yeah,
was tougher. Now being older,
this is a choice.
yeah, more life
Yeah.
experience, and the GI Bill too.
Oh yeah.
Getting paid
Yeah.
to come here, having school paid for is
Yep.
nice. It is kind of tough though. At least it was when I first started. Being more PC, or not cussing every
Yeah.
other word.
Right.
Not,
Yeah, the dynamic is
yeah,
completely different.
watching what you talk about because the military you can talk
You'd be
about
like,
everything and anything.
yep.
Here, not so much, especially the instructor or professor. Depends on who you get. Cause,
Yeah, you got to worry about people feeling
Yeah.
some type of way based upon what
Yeah.
you're saying. When you know in the military and where you came from, majority of the time you could just say it, and either people will laugh or you'll get screamed at.
Yeah.
Right.
So dealing with that, yeah.
All right. I want to thank Solano Community College again for having us here. This is all the time we have left. I also want to thank Randy Cloud and Corey Cole for being in this podcast with me, Ivan Cruz. Yeah, uh, I believe. Is there anything else you guys have?
No. Hope you guys
No.
tune in next time.
We hope you enjoyed the podcast and hope you can take away some things from our outputs and utilize it in your daily life.
All right. Thank you.
If you are interested in a career in sports broadcasting,
Whether you're commentating a live game
or hosting your own TV show,
For more information, contact Greg Poff. That's me at solano.edu.
we hope to see you here next semester. And remember,
It's more than just sports, it's an education.